What's going on outside there? Oh, I guess my wife is busy about to go outside, which is why we're in the office. Another reading, another day. Science of Mind magazine daily guides. I don't think, if there's anybody out there who's never heard of the Science of Mind magazine, well, it's been in print for almost 100 years. How much longer it will be in print, I was saying the other day, nobody knows. But I'm sure it will be around in one form or another for a long time. It's actually produced now by Centers for Spiritual Living, which is a religious science organization, Science of Mind organization. We follow the teachings of Ernest Holmes, who was a great philosopher. He was a spiritual leader. And his intention was to produce a philosophy that anybody on the planet could work with, really irrespective of their religion. It became a separate religion only because the state of California decided to tax the old buildings that were not religious buildings. Therefore, there were a whole bunch of buildings connected in different parts of California, so they decided to become a religious organization. But in reality, it's a spiritual-based religion, and it will support your beliefs in almost any religion you come from. Pretty well, anyway. The whole intention of our philosophy is to help you live a better, more productive life, better for yourself and better for other people. Why? Today's reading kind of explains it, and if it doesn't fully explain it, then I may unpack a few things. Some of the terminology may be a bit odd, and some of it's probably invented. Some of the words are probably invented, but words must have been invented somewhere, sometime, everywhere we know. Didn't exist at one time. So some of the terminology and words may seem a bit odd, but it does explain the basis behind our philosophy to some extent, and I'll unpack it shortly. And of course, this reading is for the next 24 hours. In the Science of Mind magazine, it's actually slated for the 23rd. But I got the idea, some of you remember, from my wife, where she reads the next day's reading in bed at night before she goes to sleep. So she has something good to go to sleep with. And I thought, wow, that's a good idea, actually, since I read later in the day, not 9 o'clock in the morning like Reverend Lisa, that it's probably a good idea to read the reading for the next day, because today is 2/3 gone. More, it's 7 hours. Yeah, it's more than 2/3 gone. Today's reading is called, as you may have seen in the title, Interbeing. That's probably an invented word. Interconnected, which isn't, and intertwined, which isn't. First quote is from Thich Nhat Hanh, and he's probably the one who invented this word. Interbeing is the understanding that nothing exists separately from anything else. We're all interconnected. You might go on to say everything is interconnected. Only some said it a little bit differently, but it's the same thing. Our writer, Reverend Ryan, doesn't say where this quote from Ernest Holmes came from. The more completely we're able to see God in everything, the more completely will the one God in all things respond to us. And if you don't like the word G-O-D, then substitute divine, spirit, the all. As I said, I don't really like to use the word universe, because I don't think universe is big enough. I think the divine is bigger than the universe. But I think there's probably multiple universes out there, but they all come from one source. Reverend Ryan says, the reciprocal nature of the universe is the living and breathing movement of the creative process. Evolution, if you like. We all living things are always creating, whether intentionally or unintentionally. This creation sets in motion all that we see, and yes, even those things we can't see. We're connected to one another through this very process. The great Buddhist teacher Thich Nhat Hanh called this connection interbeing. The very foundation of the universe is wrapped in the principle of reciprocity. This is more than an idea of give and take. It speaks to the power we possess to create, individually and collectively. Our beliefs, our thoughts, and our actions have power and are created in all that we see. But this creation does not occur in a vacuum. I do not create separately from you or separately from all of life. Instead, my creation is intertwined with everything. Understanding our interbeing creates an awareness that what I give to the universe impacts not only me and not only you, but everything. When we fully grasp this, not just in our brains, but with our whole being, we can begin to understand the magnitude of our connection. The interbeing, the connection, means the decisions in our lives not only support us individually, but also support justice, peace, love, and equality in the lives of others. Reciprocity does not say, I'm going to give so I can get, or I'm going to take because there's not enough to go around, or even you get to have this, but only if you can prove your worth. Instead, the principle of reciprocity says, when we all bring what we have to the table, everyone will be fed. Okay. What do I make of this? Well, I fully believe that everything is interconnected. You know, there's that old saying that we've quoted several times, which is a butterfly flapping its wings on one side of the earth creates a typhoon on the other side of the planet, because everything's interconnected. You know, we as a species don't fully understand what this means. And when we can say, yeah, we can see everything's interconnected, and I can see how that's possible, but we don't fully understand the depth to which this happens. I've mentioned many times that my wife can be watching TV, I can be playing wordscapes, and it happened several times in the past week that the word I'm filling in on wordscapes, which is from a predetermined set of 5, 6, or 7 letters, is exactly what the person on the television is saying at that very moment. That is more than a coincidence. When my grandson can ask me, when I'm thinking about wormholes in my mind and not thinking out loud, can say to me, Opa, that's his word for grandfather, or me, what's a wormhole? Everything really and truly is interconnected. We know that nature is interconnected. You know, human beings, we mess up the whole system. You know, the ecosystem usually works fine until something called the human race starts messing with it. But eventually we'll figure this out. We will figure out what we're doing to the whole of time and space. Because if you truly believe this, as Thich Nhat Hanh said, not just here in our locality, not just locally, not just even in our country, but not just even in our planet, on our planet, but everywhere, everything is interconnected. But if you want to look, but it's probably easier to look at it on a more local level and to say that everything that we think and say and do in some way, shape, or form impacts life on this planet, even if it's only minutely, but in some cases, hugely. There's an old saying, and you probably know it, that the pen is mightier than the sword. Not physically, of course, but what it means is that influence can have a tremendous impact. So as we go about our daily lives, it pays us to pay attention to what we're thinking, and what we're feeling, what we're saying, and what we're doing. because we're impacting everything around us. And that is another spiritual practice. In other words, to live in awareness. So you could actually have subtitled this Living in Awareness, because when we're aware of what's going on, guess what? We can do something about it. It's like the old idea of, instead of reacting, count to 10 and then respond. Or, as we used to do at work, get angry, write an angry email, put it at one side, come back the next morning and have a look at it and say, do I really want to send this? And I don't remember one occasion where I wanted to send that email as it was when I wrote it, when I was angry. So it's a simple message. Everything is interconnected, and the affirmation says it all. I recognize my interbeing with all life. I recognize my interbeing with all of life. So, do you think this is a good reading? I do, because if for nothing else, it helps us to start living in awareness. You know, in our class yesterday, we were talking about meditation, mindfulness. Mindfulness is really just living in the moment. For instance, when you clean your teeth or use an electric toothbrush like I do, clean your teeth. Don't be thinking about what's coming next or what's coming tomorrow or what's happening. Just clean your teeth. That is a spiritual exercise. Eat your meal, eat your meal. I'm guilty of this. I multitask. And sometimes when I'm eating, I do multitask. I know I shouldn't, but I do. So one of my spiritual practices may be to, when I eat my meal, simply eat my meal. Reverend Lisa, as I mentioned earlier, will be on at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, reading from the Science of Mind magazine and the Science of Mind textbook. And if you need help because of this storm, people are reaching out to us, whether it's you need prayer support, whether you need physical support, reach out to us. And if we can't help you, more than likely we can find somebody who can. So until next time, take care, especially take care of yourselves. Namaste.